You said it yourself, Jacob. The cutoff, 76 points. Going into the previous match, it was Cammy and Seti that were on that cutoff, on that borderline. However, they have now qualified with the Victory Royale. The new players close to that borderline, Vidil Reason, Thomas HD, Queasy. A lot of these top tier duos that have not only yet to have qualified, but also might not even make it to the upper bracket if they don't do a good job in this last match.
There's a lot of pressure. Different types of pressure depending on where you're at in the leaderboard, but the further down you are, you get pressure to get into that top 25. You get pressure to win that game so you don't have to go to tomorrow, because any team that does not make it out of lower bracket round 2 today, your FNCS is over. So for a lot of these teams, they got to take this extra chance knowing that they will go to tomorrow and try to run with it.
And for the players currently competing in the lower brackets, top 30, what they're looking for. We're going to focus here on the last opportunity to qualify directly to the grand finals through a Victory Royale. After this, it's all consistency, Jacob. It's all consistency. And we'll see if Murstache Malabuka have that in the early game.
This is one of those moments right here. Another contested drop right out of the gates. Noah and Aqua currently sit with 12 points. 46th place on the leaderboard. And I feel like that's why you see them just take a little bit different of approach, a little bit slower, not necessarily working their way from the top down. They want to make sure they have the loot, they have the materials as quickly as possible before they try to engage on either Malabuka or Murstache or the boss. And it already looks like Malabuka or Murstache are luring that boss to the high ground.
Look, if I'm Malabuka Murstache here, I'm not letting that slide. This is the last match of the day. You know that Malabuka Murstache are basically almost guaranteed a qualification to the upper bracket. Meanwhile, Aqua Noah, they're not. Aqua Noah need that Victory Royale in this last match. So if I'm Malabuka Murstache, I'm taking this early game engagement no matter what after they're done looting, taking home that boss. So we'll have to see who ends up taking it, as now they're going to regroup.
Yeah, quickly scrambling around. Murstache has a decent chunk of shields missing, but he got himself enough time so he can start to replenish. And they're separated. Aqua on the other side. He gets spotted out. Murstache can't build to save himself. Accidentally on the zip line. He goes skating to a knock all the way on the low ground. And that's a big elimination because now Aqua not only has the points, the Storm Surge, the medallion, and the mythic weapon. And he has a line of sight onto Malabuka as damage continues to pour out by Noah. Could be a big elimination and a chance to not let them survive. That way you don't have to worry about these juggernaut of a team later on in this game.
Yeah, I don't really know what you do if you're Malabuka here. That's going to be the unfortunate end for them in this final match of the day. The good news is with the amount of points they had, they should be guaranteed into the upper bracket tomorrow. So they'll have 3 matches to try and get top 25 at the start of the day. And then if they are unable to do that, another 3 matches to try and get top 15. Both qualifications through consistency. But for Noah and Aqua, what they want now is that Victory Royale.
Yeah, they got to get close to it regardless. Because with 14 points, you need a high elimination game with a second place if you're not going for that win. So it's all or nothing for them as Deckzee and Eclipse end up in an early game exchange towards the low ground. A little bit separated, which we've seen work out for teams of 4. The double angles might be fruitful for them as Eclipse is still trying to attack from above. Deckzee not landing the shots necessary. Doesn't even get the piece control to go on over to his side. So they're still getting back down little by little, but that second angle that I was talking about really playing the difference here in this fight, but it's only going to be a trade.
Deckzee now has been knocked down. It looks like the 1 versus 1. How is it going to end? They're going to trade, Jacob. We're going to get another 2v2.
Yep, revive for revive. Deckzee obviously has the med kits, making sure to pass them around and build some extra space to make it that much safer for them to try to survive. On the other side, it doesn't look like they're replenishing too much HP or shields. So they have to be very, very careful how they approach the situation from here on out.
Are they going to continue with the engagement, though? Both players in a bit of a shock now, having lost their duo partner. Traded the revive back up, picking them up. And now they're kind of like, huh, should we do that again? Should we fight again? Maybe we should just disengage. We've done a bit of damage. You know, we'll take our own paths and see each other later in the match.
So much action going down around the map. Oh, no, I know what's coming.
Onto Vico.
Oh, no. He just had no idea. Didn't hear it coming.
Wow.
That's actually not a knock. That's not a knock. That's a full elim. And you know what that means? Vico and Flixie are out of this game. But just like some of our competition that we saw fall with Malibu Mustache, they have it locked in for another upper bracket appearance tomorrow.
Yeah, they're #1 on the leaderboard, not counting the players that already got the victory royales by far, too. 258 points versus 196 for second. They were dominating in terms of consistency. Unfortunately, won't be getting that golden ticket.
Separated towards the outside. Got to be careful in these prolonged fights, especially when the zone begins to pull away, because when you know you don't already have a lot of materials and you're kind of just trying to hold your spot, you're expending a lot of materials. And you can see it's less than 10 builds left. It's almost all or nothing for him. He's trying to change targets, catches opponents off guard, but they're not really taking the bait, at least not taking it just yet. And he's using this staggered position as a chance to try to fake him out yet again. He does have the crash pads if he does want to try and disengage, but I don't think he wants to leave without at least getting the reboot card first.
Doesn't have a lot of options either, to be fair, with 2 players surrounding him and only 2 builds. You just got to hit your shots here. I'm not sure if the opponents have that much materials or anything either, though, because they're not playing entirely aggressive. Medkit being popped. Being in the edge of storm as well, you can see there's another duo on Mount Olympus with both arrows looking directly at them. They know there's a fight going down, and they're just waiting to clean it up.
Even through all this, though, he looked pretty calm there when the player cam did show up. Doesn't look stressed. And for the Monk and Firen, they're just going to kind of disengage on out. They at least got 1 elim, and this is how they were able to get it. Just the angles. He just ended up in a box that wasn't him. You saw the other side was quickly edited open. You got to be careful in those situations that you make space for yourself and you don't end up in your opponent's box.
Thomas HD Queasy now in a surge base. I like this. This is looking like a efficient 2024 surge base. You said it yourself. Block off the crash pads. Nice little cone edits.
And they're near a couple nitro rings as well, and other cactuses on the ground. And you saw, like, during the games, they're breaking down the surge bases relatively close to a lot of the cactuses. This is exactly why. Just waiting for a lot of those opportunities where the teams, whether it's a south zone or not, do rotate towards the south side of the map, or at least as close to a cactus as possible. So, I mean, if you set up one of those bases in the center of all the cactuses, I feel like you're going to have the best shots at getting surged.
True. True. We'll switch over to a part of the map that doesn't have cactuses, as now these players battle it out. But with the amount, there's 3 different duos looking at this engagement right now. Kidduo Nebs, the first 3 games for this duo, they got 10th place exactly in all 3 matches. Unfortunately, the most recent one, they fell earlier. We're not able to keep up with that consistency. Seeing that now it is the last match, hopefully they can make something happen. But against Chapentini, it's not going to be easy.
A team that kind of loves to fight. Just waiting for any opportunity, whether they take the fight to you or you jump onto them. It's never going to go easy. I feel like they're just kind of maybe trying to fake it out. Nebs is farming up. They do have their eyes, and it does look like Teeny and Chap going to use those dashes. Maybe mix it with some nitro. They're staggering themselves in the zone, but for good cause, because they just want to make it so far out of their line of sight so that way they can eventually start to rotate in, and they don't have to worry about too many teams.
Rotate's going to begin. They have the River of Sticks, so they can use those dashes to do it more efficiently. Midix and Yasin. Ooh, got to be careful. Nitro Drone. Gonna get cracked here by, I believe it's Fast Strokey and his duo partner.
And we've seen Fast Strokey and Robound take a couple of fights early on in some of the games so far. Some of them working out for them, others not so much. You can kind of see the differences when you don't necessarily have the cactuses. You got to fight for your surge outright. And they're not just trying to do that. They're trying to do 2 birds, 1 stone. They're ready to fight for their spot, fight for their surge, but they have elevated themselves so far. But the Nitrodrome, they're hoping to see as many teams rotate as possible. So I just kind of want to hope for them, give them the benefit of the doubt that their surge so far at this stage of the game is A-okay, but you've been talking about how high that storm surge threshold is when it actually pops off in zone 6 and 7. I don't think anybody's going to be comfortable in zone 3.
It's crazy how many of the top duos have gotten eliminated so far. I mean, the two duos with the most eliminations, Merstash Malabuka, Vico Flixie, they're both out of this game. Even the 3 out of the top 5 duos are also eliminated already. I wonder if they were playing kind of extra aggressive to go all in. We saw how Vico went out. It was pretty unfortunate from the skies with the crash pad. Merstash Malabuka as well just didn't come out on top in the early game engagement, but all of this to happen in the last match of the day.
Especially when
Kind of
76 points is the threshold as well. Like, for all these players that are well above, you know, I'm not sure there's too many of them playing for just straight consistency, and they just didn't even see it come. And luckily, he was able to kind of create some distance while they were in the skies. Teammates there trying to alleviate some of the pressure as him and Hydro just trade off a couple shots. No confidence building moves just yet. But either way, Hydro and Kaido still got to rotate in this direction if they want to find that safety of the zone.
Nitro saved Flipmonk there. Was able to go fast enough for his fire and actually to not get landed on, but he might get landed on now. Hydro, great job of escaping that box before his opponents could piece him up. Now, a bit more cautious on the angles he's taking, looking to see if he can get a bit of real estate, replace some walls without getting fully boxed up.
A little bit of a prolonged fight, which I don't see too many teams rotating in this direction, whether they hear the noise or not. The zone is moving towards the north, maybe a little bit of a western lean on it. And that's why they're feeling the confidence to continue to try to move over on this position, take multiple angles before they finally disengage on out. It's not worth their time anymore, especially the way that team down below is playing. They're kind of turtling back in their boxes, saying, hey, if you want to fight us, you got to come to us. And that's their territory. They probably have a couple boxes, ramps, cones built. So if Hydro and Kaido were to rotate in that direction, it'd be a pretty risky situation to put yourself in.
Take a quick look at what Snazy and Todesai have been doing by Mount Olympus. Oh, dangerous 3-2-1. On Radion, I don't know if Pred is going to make it out or not.
Not yet, at least. Some
North zone, Jacob.
Yeah.
It's happened
this time around. So you think Storm Surge thresholds are going to be a little bit lower in this match, or still just as high, but only for certain teams that you see staggered in the south, still in the zone?
I think it's going to be lower overall. If the average was 200 more than yesterday, I'll say compared to day 1 of semifinals, I think it's probably going to be at least the same as it was yesterday, maybe like 50 or 100 more, because people are a bit more aware of the surge strats. We'll see. Maybe we can get an update on how it looks as the game goes on. But for now, Snazy and Podesai have secured the bunker, and they're going to continue on with their rotate.
Just the two floppers don't allow me to build confidence for them. They kind of survive. Even if they do make it towards the zone on the other end, they're going to be missing a lot of HP, and then they're obviously going to use the floppers to get it back, which means they're going to have an empty inventory slot. Unless, of course, they have med kits, maybe some colas on the other side. And actually, Vidil and Reason, you know, we talked about where they're at on the leaderboard, which isn't as bad as we've seen some of the other players today. 24th place. At least they're giving themselves a chance to be inside of the bubble. And you're noticing a huge switch up, right? They went to Brutal Beachhead. They went Sandy Steps. They're going all around the map. But now this time around, they're getting coached a little bit by Veno, who's moved on over to NA. So they're taking the spot and the game plan that you'd see Clix and Veno use, and they're trying to incorporate that here in the last and final game of the day on EU.
Will it work out? Time will tell as Festroki and Raban now made it back into zone. So many players boxed up on buildings that have already been built around Reckless Railways. You can use that to refarm your brick while also getting a decent position to have line of sight of the other players in the surrounding area. Amo and Stillian with a bit of a ways to go to make it into zone. Even with the duos who are kind of boxed up on the snowy mountain, they will be blocking them, taking shots at them, but it should be pretty doable.
There's another team located nearby. But again, with the zone continuously pulling north, a lot of these teams will have already went towards the north. So it's not in some, maybe the next zone, it continues to get more and more staggered on the south side of the zone. So timing is going to get more and more crucial. We're going to have less window to make any bit of mistakes on that push, as Voltiax is still trying to stay alive. They know he's around here somewhere, as Almos did get his teammate back. We saw the struggles he went through earlier on in this game, and with the Nitros, they're making it easy to move into the box. Voltiax defends himself once. He actually goes back to back. They break into the box. A ramp separates them into 2 separate 1v1s, and Voltiax, here's your crown, king.
Okay, Voltiax, I see you. I see you. Issue is now, Jacob. Look, actually, I don't see too much of an issue. 4 medkits. He could technically just play the zone here with the amount of medkits he has. I don't know if he actually has the reboot card to bring his duo back. If he hasn't done it already, I doubt he does, but what a 1v2.
Wow, first shots.
Disgusting.
2 players, and all they were able to get is 2 shots off, while he fired, what, 3, 4 shots in that same exact fight? Hey, that's what really separates our players at the top level versus anybody else. And he even has his spot in the upper bracket tomorrow solidified, but was now the chance to get his teammate back. Hey, we could see a second chance at life here.
Crosshair placement. You can see how important it is, especially with shotguns, if you connect those big shots. Wow, Aqua and Noah, 749 above. We were talking about how Storm Surge might not be as significant in this match because of the north zone and Cactus is not being put into play. That could be why, but in the meantime, you have players like T-Chips and Decay who are still 34 below, although they do have 0 eliminations.
Ooh, active surge. Is he going to get it off in time? Yes, he is. Barely off in time. Urban and Fast Roki are on the other side, quickly backing up, making space for themselves. So a push like this isn't going to have as much success, or at least as much as you'd think it is. Luckily for a lot of players in this situation, Storm is going to momentarily deactivate, but only for the next couple of seconds as the zone continues to close. Deckzee's still getting attacked on the other side. Him and T-Chips got to rethink that situation. Meanwhile, with that damage just newly acquired, they're going to use that as an opportunity to rotate. They know it's a far rotation for them to make, and timing is of the essence.
Crash pads getting put to good use. You got to be careful, though. Hijo Kaido. Are they going to get themselves into an engagement with Fast Strokey here? He does not need the damage. What they want is this campfire. Kaido was so close to making his first FNCS Grand Finals appearance in the last game when they had height. Unfortunately, they were not able to secure the victory royale. So far, every single duo that has secured a VR and made it to Grand Finals are returning finalists. So if that continues throughout the end of the day, this will be a first for the FNCS. But who knows, Jacob? Maybe some underdogs will take home the match here.
Oof. That's going to do it for Huddy and Kovacs. They're going to be on to the lower bracket tomorrow. But at least they still have their FNCS dreams alive. Hedra and Kerwa just trying to take advantage of anybody climbing up this mountain. They're 37 below the threshold. So even though they're not in zone, they know they have a list of things they need to do before they find their spot comfortably there. And another max pull for everybody on this side of the map, which might be a blessing for some, knowing that everybody here is going to have to rotate. And before that happens, they're trying to take the fight to them, but forced to reload at the worst possible time. His opponent jumps over and lands the first couple of shots, drops him into the box. T-Chips takes a bite out of his opponent. Hedra now on the other side. He's just trying to break his way in, but they're still 6 below the threshold. He gets a shot on the knocked body, but that's going to get him above that Storm Surge. Even with 1 HP, he's just trying to survive. He has 1 bandage, and that's not going to be enough. Hedra drops him into the palm of the hands, takes him out, sends him back to the lobby. And luckily for him, Storm Surge deactivates because you saw him was still 59 below that threshold.
Will he be able to stay up, though? Pressure is being applied. If you look at the bottom right of the minimap, look how many duos are on the way to the zone. Hedra gonna have to make it alone. Cool in the zone as well still. We know he has 4 medkits, or had. He's now gonna have to use them up to stay up. See how Snazy was able to clean up here. An elimination or 2.
I say that was probably one of the best transitions I've seen in a while. I don't know who thought of that one, but they cooked up Pixie just trying to take advantage. 51 above the damage threshold. And that's what I like about this duo. They know exactly the situation they're in, and instead of waiting until they fall below, trying to out-heal it, they just get themselves in a good spot and allow themselves the flexibility to look all around the zone to try to get damage just like this. And they even get a knock on the way there. Quick cleanup opportunity, and they're going to be able to get the loot as well. There's not too many teams on this portion of the map, so it's not going to be too risky for them to go in, get the loot that they want, and even reposition afterwards.
Look how they're able to capitalize on these positions, like you said, from afar, not risking themselves danger to get these tags. And even with the refresh, that is going to set them up perfectly for the rest of this late game, with now 7th zone coming to a close. We'll see what side of the map these players are going to have to rotate to. It's going to be northeast. And now shortly after, the moving zones are going to commence.
And I kind of check it out right now. 9 of the 20 teams inside of the bubble are down and out of the game, which opens up a huge opportunity for any of those players that are just outside of that threshold to really rise to that occasion. Queasy and Thomas are going to be one of them. To start this game, the threshold was 76 points. So even though they're at 82, you got to believe that threshold rise along with it. Placement points are now beginning to set in. They're 141 above the damage threshold, 42 players left alive. If they fall down below Storm Surge here, they're the worst possible time for that to happen.
Yeah, the estimate of what they need to qualify to the upper bracket is 102 points, estimated. So Thomas, HD, and Queasy still have a ways to go. The job is not finished. They're actually just getting started.
That threshold actually moved up to around 80 points so far, give or take, maybe even a little bit more. Stacey and Podesai, 500 plus above the threshold. We've seen him make it very, very far into a couple of these games this weekend so far. Better late than never, though, as Tarps gets aimed out. He goes down. They immediately beeline for that loot. And that's something that we've seen throughout the weekend. Those builds, being able to just stretch them so far into this end game means so much in this situation.
Look at this, Jacob. We talked about it earlier. Aqua and Noah, they need the victory royale to qualify. They want to get that ticket directly to the grand finals. If they go down with less than 102 points, they won't even make the upper bracket. So they want to play for that win. This is why they're holding on to the high ground so aggressively, and they need to make something happen.
I feel like the only way they can even get the points is through a big win or some big elimination, second place. So Aqua and Noah definitely have their job cut out for them today, and it's looking good so far. They've elevated themselves well above everybody else, but a max pull means they're going to have to give it up momentarily and retake it later on in the same rotation.
Teeny Chap looking incredibly healthy. 307 turned into Mountain Goats here on the side of the ridge, but they got to be careful because now all these players are going to be building up by them. They don't want to get trapped in a sticky situation, as Thomas, HD, Queasy have made it up the hill, but they're 32 below.
Yeah, the biggest adjustment they made is elevating themselves. It's usually when we see them go down in the earlier games, they get caught in that low ground and all of that destruction, and now they have some elevation, but they're falling below that threshold from 38 to 45. Somebody's hot on the heels. There is opportunities all around for them to land the shots, but with zone moving, they don't really have the time. They have to quickly peek through, and there goes a couple misses, and that's the type of situation that you're in if you're Thomas and Queasy. But the flank finally comes in, a monster of a shot onto Thomas, backing him down, separating him from Queasy. The struggles will continue, but can they survive it this time around?
Meanwhile, Kaido looking to make his first FNCS Finals appearance. They were close in the last match, but now he has to pick up Haijo. No medkit in the inventory, just the Nitro Splash and a Flowberry Fizz to make it to zone.
Oh, and his teammate gets down as well. One tick is all he could take. He barely squeaks his way in. He got himself a little crevice to try to stagger, reload the weapons, use as much of the fizz as he can because he knows the zone is on his back. But now it's go time, trying to survive. There's a couple of teams right in front of him, even with the Nitro. He does bump into the wall just a little bit, and there's opportunities all around that he doesn't take advantage of, and he gets dropped for it.
Look above, though, in the atmosphere. Noah and Aqua are still holding on to height, but they got to be careful. Shots are coming towards them. The pressure has to be applied to second height, as it looks like opposing duos are trying to drop them down. They're looking down below, seeing where they can connect to, seeing who they can take their shots at to claim this position for longer. 41 builds is what Noah has.
There's a couple teams still in this game that are on the bubble. And these guys can really play disruption to any of those teams that are at least looking to make it to tomorrow. Chaps now in their line of sight. Him and Teeny, that's going to be their biggest threat, because in a few games today alone, and if you include tomorrow, even more, that they've threatened for the high ground late in the games and won it.
Be careful. Chari, though, gets knocked down. Gura's left alone. Just one elim on the board, 18 HP. One tick and he'll be at 8-2 is what he can withstand. Be careful though, it's a 104 shot, a crack. It's not enough for the knock.
Yeah, right on the chap. That's gonna hurt his game plan in his run here toward the end. Geary's still doing wonders here, has another nitro. That one's gonna have to be used instantly if he's looking to stay alive, and he runs into Nathan, who takes him down with ease. But one solo for another. You're still in that tough spot, especially when you're running out of builds. You don't have HP, and there's multiple duos right in front of you. But Shaco's towards the outside. He's outside of the bubble. He needs to finish strong here, but he goes down in 7th place. Is that enough points as Teeny and Chap, they contest for the high ground. Chap falls. Teeny now left by himself. Mirrored situation from the earlier games so far today.
Noah and Aqua cannot give this up. The 2nd place will not be enough to make it to the upper bracket. They need to take home the victory royale, but has Teeny just stopped them from doing so?
Down goes Aqua. Teeny playing bracket buster. Even though he has his spot secured, he is ending dreams of everybody down below. There's going to be one strong duo. That's Slovade. That's Nate. Aqua's there, or Noah's there as well, with Aqua going down. Teeny, he's just trying to pressuring him. Everything comes crashing down. He still have the dashes to save himself. Builds to hold on to the high ground, but he runs into the other solo. Dashes above yet again. Teeny is just going all out, and he runs out of time. Fall damage is real. Noah has made it to a top 2, and it's down to a 1v1.
He needs to win. The 2nd place will not be enough for the upper bracket. It's all or nothing, but Noah goes down, and Deckzee is going to take that spot in the grand finals.
And is it going to be enough? That's the big question, because 2nd place, they needed a certain number of eliminations if they were to make it all the way. But we know one team that did, Deckzee and Eclipse. And welcome to the grand finals. Even this is one of those teams, they were letting their frustrations be known. They were getting hunted down 2 games in a row, but they finally made those adjustments. They've adapted when it mattered most, and Deckzee pulls off a big clutch with just a sliver of HP.
What a way to finish it off. Our tickets to the grand finals through the victory royales have been booked, but so much is left to look at. I want to see how the leaderboard affected. Did Aqua and Noah make it? They were so close, but there's only 3 people that can help us answer that question. That's it for me and Jacob today. Let's head right back over to Frankie, Levin, and Minnie.